There's nothing to prove. Get your head out the clouds, don't be washed away by the rain. Come back to me, come back to see. It's the same old story. Every time you look the other way. So what's there left to say? Inside out, with no one but yourself to blame. So face the truth, or suffer and lose. All the games you play keep pushing me further away. Come back to me, come back to see the light beyond the shade. Everybody has their price to pay. But we can run for miles in
It's the final race of season 11, and it's here at Portimao. We now await the 5 red lights. McKenzie and Bertolucci head us up on the front row. Then it's Suidovic and Harrison just 1 row back. Who will be in the lead when we hit turn 1? Who will be in the lead at the end of this hour-long affair? 23 cars set to grid. We wait the last couple. They're revving up. And we are go here at Portimao. McKenzie will lead them off down into turn number 1. Bertolucci on the inside of Suidovic. Harrison to the right of Schenk. Hendricks up the inside of Lazan. Zepka on Mike D'Almeida. McKenzie's away. Then it's Bertolucci, Suidovic, Harrison, and Schenk going side by side. And coming out of this corner, Schenk's going to be on the inside for turn number 3. It's going to be tough for those two to make it through there, too wide. But it looks like coming out on top, it's going to be Harrison on the right side, Schenk on the left, and down into the hairpin. They continue to battle. Hendricks behind, fighting with John Lazan for that P6. Raymond 2 and Mark Darnell going at it for P10. Schenk has come out ahead of Harrison here. He'll be on the right side for the next series of corners, and I think that is where he's going to want to be. And yes, he does pull ahead. So it's McKenzie, Bertolucci, Suidovic, Schenk, and Harrison as your top 5 so far in this first lap. A 1-hour race here at Portimao today. And already the drivers starting to find a little bit of space for themselves. And Hendricks going for a bit of a move there. Looking for something on Anthony Harrison. Not able to find it. These guys coming out of Sector 2 now. And McKenzie has a pretty nice lead as they enter the final set of corners here. First, it's a hairpin. That's the penultimate corner. And then they come out to a sweeping right-hander, very fast. That is the final corner on the track. And there they go. Oh, one of them going a little wide. It looked like Lazan, but I don't think you can really pick up a slowdown out there, so he should be fine. He's currently running just ahead of Zepka there. And Zepka, a lot of these guys didn't really move on the start. Out of the top 11 cars, Schenk and Harrison, the only ones to trade positions. But Mike D'Almeida going for a late lunge up the inside of the Sia driver. And this may allow for a little 3-wide action with Raymond 2. And 2 is going to have a nice angle on both of these guys. He's going to make a 3-wide to the hairpin. Yes, he will. In the middle of the track. Almeida on the outside. Zepka on the inside. Almeida has outbreak 2. Comes around him. He'll have the momentum. And I think he's going to have a good shot at getting around Zepka here. As they go by the large, central spectator building that sits here at Portimao. Almeida does, in fact, just eke ahead, and now Zepka's having to deal with Raymond 2. Who's going to get the better exit out of that corner? It's difficult when you're going too wide through that corner for either of you to really get a good run. There's not a whole lot of grip on the outside. You have to slow down a lot to make the inside work. Further back, Jacob Wiley, Brian Son, Zachary Bowman, they are all dueling for what is P19. This is P5 in the Delta class. And Bowman looking for a move here on Son. Oh, Son's really pinching him to the track, leaving him as little room as possible as they come up into the third to last corner on the track. It's one of the final 2 hairpins. And Bowman is ahead. Son will hold on to P7 in the Delta class behind. They all still chase Jacob Wiley just in front. Further up the road, you have Bertolucci under pressure from Waj. And into turn number 1, that is a 0.3 of a second gap. And wouldn't Schenk like to see these guys start to fight? Wouldn't McKenzie like to see these guys start to fight? McKenzie had a pretty sizable gap in qualifying. So it'd be interesting to see how much of that translates into race pace. Right now, he's got 1.7 seconds on Bertolucci, on Suidovic. And Bowman and Son look like they're switching places again. Actually, that's Bowman and Wiley. He's going for that inside move into turn number 2. Excuse me, turn number, I'm getting my turn numbers mixed up. That's turn 4 they're coming out of now. Side by side down to the hairpin, turn 5. And I like being on the inside line here. I think Wiley's in a good position. You just can't go in too shallow, otherwise you're going to lose all that momentum. And Bowman went for the over-under, but honestly, I think he should have just braked late and gone around the outside because Wiley really scrubbed off a lot of speed there on the inside. He manages to stay ahead. And so the battle for P5 in the Delta class cools off again. Christian Ost currently leads the Delta class ahead of Spencer Clark, ahead of Fuad Al-Rijla. Al-Rijla did not have the best of luck last week at New Hampshire, but he's going better here. So far, he's on the podium. And Rakowski going side by side with Daniel Smith. It's Veloster on Veloster. Coming into the first of the final 2 hairpins. Smith pulls ahead, but Rakowski, a nice little run there. And oh, Smith actually lets her by. I wonder what's going on there. But as a result, that's Rakowski up into 15th overall. That car running just behind them. I'm not sure. Oh, that's a lap down. That's Alexander Batash running in the Honda this week. But it looks like he has already gone a lap down. And David Bauer is out of the race. So a retirement, a lap down car. Checking up front, Bertolucci still hanging out in front of Swiatovic. The gap to McKenzie up ahead is only 2 seconds. It hasn't grown a whole lot. But Waj has been no closer to finding an opening on Bertolucci, but there it is. He goes for the late dive in the hairpin, and Bertolucci did not see that one coming, gets caught unawares, but can he come back at the 80? It's going to be a difficult spot to force any kind of move, but making them go too wide here a little bit, not going to work out a whole lot. Oh, look at that. Sends it up the inside late, but has to back out, and Waj knew that there was no chance he was going to get that move done. Francois has to get into the back of him. Schenk goes off course, has a bit of front end damage, and now he's stuck dealing with Anthony Harrison again. Harrison showing great pace, keeping up with this group of guys. Sends it up the right side. Oh, they touched just a little bit on quarter exit. It's fair racing. Schenk's going to have a little advantage going up to the hairpin. Does Harrison look to the left side of the track? No. He is going to stay behind Schenk. So we'll look back here because Zepka is right up the back of Mike de Almeida. They touch a little bit. And de Almeida, one of 2 waifu cars in the field today, the other being Daniel Smith. And actually going a little further back there, it looks like Bowman was very close to getting around Wiley, but slips back behind him going into the second to last corner. Brian Son is hanging on to the back of this battle. Christian Ost side by side for the Delta lead. Spencer Clark, Christian Ost. Clark on the right side. It looks like he may not have had the momentum to stay there. So heading down into turn number 1, he remains behind the complex Simworks driver. Ost has done a good job of fending him off thus far. Ost has shown really good form here towards the end of this championship. The Delta title may be slightly out of reach now, but both he and Clark have been the, I'd say, the faces of the Delta championship the last couple of races, and that looked like Ost getting very loose into the braking zone of that hairpin. It's a tricky downhill braking zone. I can understand getting a little loose there to try to just make sure the car gets stopped. So further ahead, Mike de Almeida is still under pressure from Matt Zevka. I feel like we haven't talked about de Almeida a whole lot this season, but he's showing good pace so far here today. Zepka is going to send it up the inside, and there's just enough space for him to do so. But now does he send it going into the hairpin? De Almeida having some issues, blinking in and out, but Zepka still going in for the fight. Has to slip back behind him there, though. So into the penultimate corner. Zepka and 2 follow him closely. And that's the battle for 8th. So they're quite far up the field. And then Micah Hendricks is trying to separate himself from John Lazon so they can go chase down Harrison, Schink, Bertolucci, and Suidovic. Suidovic has not gained on McKenzie since getting out ahead and into P2. That gap has gone from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds, although Waj was faster than McKenzie by a little over a tenth on that last lap. So we could see him start to make inroads on this lead. 50 very long minutes left in this one. There are 2 pit stops lined up. So we could see things change over the course of those. Raymond 2 could look for a move on Zepka into the hairpin this lap. Looking to the left side. Tries to put the nose up in there, and they may have made contact as he kind of clatters over the curb. I don't think that's worked out for him. And Zepka cuts back ahead as Mike D'Almeida grows further and further away. One of the big things that these drivers are going to have to think about in this race are the tires. How are they managing the tires? Are they keeping the temps down? Because Portimao, lots of sweeping corners and really a lot of sweeping right-hand corners at high speed. Some very heavy braking zones. As a result, what you're going to see is these guys start to experience some serious tire fall off. Not as bad as it could have been. The temps have come down since practice when fall off was pretty bad. But you're still going to see some because it's very easy to push just a bit too hard, especially through this corner they're coming through now. And then we'll go on board with Raymond 2 through the last corner. And you'll see just come over this crest, a very light lift of the gas, and then you're on it, and you're really leaning on that left front tire. And you just have to put everything into it. And that's a lot of energy to put through that rubber. Oh, lap after lap after lap. So Suidovic has put about, well, no, it's about the same. He and McKenzie that last time around were only separated by a half tenth. McKenzie faster. So we'll keep an eye on that. Schink is working on getting around Bertolucci. He has a little bit of front end damage. He can get that fixed on that first pit stop because we do have 1 fast repair available. So at least on one of the 2 pit stops today, these drivers can pick up some kind of damage repair. And Zepka is side by side with the Almeida. Caught back up to him, lunged him in the hairpin. Almeida's going to have a better run out of it though. And you do want to be on the right side, I think, going in the next corner. As long as you are far enough alongside. And yes, he is going to be there. Can Zepka hold it around the outside? He's very far out there. Not a whole lot of grip. He's gathered it up nicely, though. And this is still going on. And Zepka is going to have the advantage here. But the Almeida is still going to be there for the next corner. Oh, man, it is close. Almeida up against the curb. And once again, Zepka's going to have an advantage. As a left-hand hairpin, it's going to be difficult for De Almeida to fight this. And now Raymond 2's getting involved. And Zepka is through. 2 has to fall in line. And that battle is over. But battle's not over. Zachary Bowman and Jacob Wiley in the battle for 17th overall, P6, P5 in the Delta class. They've just swapped spots, so Bowman finally gets ahead of Wiley, and they are all part of a group of cars being led by Jess Rakowski. She currently runs in 4th, the first Delta driver not on the podium, and she has a 6.6 second gap to the first podium sitter up ahead. That's Fuad Arijla. And Arijla himself is only a half second off of the Delta leaders. So this group of 3 cars here, it's all to play for. Who will take the final Delta victory of the season? It could be any of these 3 guys. And all it takes is one small calamity to bring others into the fold. And look at this. Daniel Smith attacking Jess Rakowski, and Zachary Bowman trying to get involved, and Jacob Wowley trying to get involved. It might be 3 wide down to the hairpin. Wowley's gonna stick a nose in, and yes, it's 3 wide, almost 4 wide. Rakowski on the inside. Smith just goes out off track. Rakowski slow in the middle of the track. Bowman around the outside. Wowley up the inside. And now Brian Sod trying to go around the outside of Rakowski. Wowley and Bowman through. And that was chaos. But they managed to gather it up, and they also managed to not crash. So the group is still kind of together, though I imagine Bowman and Wiley might pull away from the other 3 after that. We'll see if Son can keep them connected. Bertolucci still under pressure up front. Schink and Harrison are very much in play for this final podium spot. And that's not even to say if anything happens to McKenzie or Sawidovic. You see Bertolucci trying to break the toe here a little bit. So definitely some playing around with that happening. It's hard when you get to turn 1, if you're trying to make a pass on someone, you've got to be alongside them just because of the nature of the corner. It's so high speed. You can't really outbrake someone into it. So it is a long run down to turn 1. There's a lot of slipstream, but it doesn't always work out. Schink got a very good run out of that corner, and Bertolucci is going to have to defend. So here we go. This is for the final step on the podium. Still 45 minutes left in this race, so these two are going to fight for it, and Harrison is there. He'd be happy to pick up the pieces if something happens here. Schink on the outside is going to have the better run off the corner. And he'll have the preferred line into the next series, but he's going to take it nice and slow. Oh, a little contact, but he manages to get in front of Bertolucci. And we have a new car up into P3. And Harrison not able to capitalize on any of that, but he stays very close to this group. And Schink is going to have to defend into this corner. So this is just going to cause them to lose even more time to the cars ahead, the leaders. So McKenzie and Sawidovic are still going to start to pull away. Sawidovic has taken maybe another 10th out of McKenzie's lead, but otherwise that's been very stable. They're doing very similar lap times. Bertolucci looking for something into the final hairpin. Really having to get out of the gas there, and that's going to cost him some ground to Schink as they come through the final corner. And look at the difference in lines. Bertolucci on a very shallow line. Harrison started much further out wide. And when they get onto the straight, they are both going about the same speed. Harrison now benefiting from that slipstream, staying really close to this group. We'll go on board with him. Following the 51 and the 18. There's still 42 minutes left in this race and 2 pit stops. We should start to see people pull on the pit lane within the next probably 2 to 3 laps. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be difficult to fuel save here with how long the laps are. Hard to save for an extra lap. People are going to be mostly worried about their tires anyway, and you'll be doing some natural fuel saving just by the fact that you are trying to keep your tires in temp. Micah Hendricks, I don't think he was... he and Lazan are battling for 6th here. I do not think he was behind Lazan last we checked. And yeah, in fact, on the last lap, Hendricks was 1 second slower than Lazan. So something happened on the last lap. Lazan was able to get through on the reigning champion. Oh, and he's going a bit wide there on the defense. Micah trying to put a nose in, but he focuses on the exit and gets it done. Gets out of there. So Lazan running in P6. He manages to get around Hendricks, whether it was an overtake or some kind of mistake by Hendricks. I don't see where a notification about him going off track. So I think Lazan just goes by him. But he may find it hard to detach. I think Francois Schink is finding something similar. Is that it's difficult to detach from the cars behind you. And Shink actually running his windshield wipers. Always love to see that. Maybe by the time season 12 comes around, the skies will be a bit darker, the tracks will be a bit wetter. But for now, we can get dirt off the windshield. Let's look back at the battle for 8th. Zepka still leads Mike Almeida by 6/10. So it's just another case of these guys not being able to separate from each other. Raymond 2 is holding on to the back of them as well, but he's starting to lose them. It's a 1.2 second gap right now, and that's really outside the effective range of slipstream. You start to kind of feel slipstream around the 1.2 to 1.3 spot, but it's usually not enough to help you hold on to the back of people. Just behind them, Mark Darnell has the entire group of Delta leaders hanging out behind him, and this group, we watched Spencer Clark attempt one he made one overtake attempt on Ost, and then it's been nothing since. These guys have kind of been running next to each other. Bowman and Jacob Wiley are going at it again, but I think Bowman has gotten the better of Wiley here on the defense. And Brian Son still sitting behind these guys, ready to pounce if one of them makes a mistake in this battle. For what is P4 in the Delta class. More windshield wiper usage. Bowman getting a lot of rotation. So 1/3 of the way into this contest. Still no pit stops, still no takers. But it will almost certainly be happening very soon. And in fact, there is Micah Hendricks. He comes down pit road. And he'll be the first to come down. Spencer Clark and Fuad Al-Rijla also come down pit road. So this is going to change up the battle for the Delta win. Both of these guys are hoping to undercut Christian Ost. Now here's the interesting thing. Although these guys are not putting on a fresh set of tires, coming down pit road, Fuad did not get into his stall immediately there. May have lost a little bit of time. Rakowski and Son also come down pit road. Rakowski's taking tires. That may cost her some time. We'll see how that works out. What have I just seen? Hendricks lost a lot of time on pit road there. I think Hendricks took tires. Am I seeing that right? Yeah, Rakowski's pit stop was the same amount of time. So Hendricks and Rakowski take tires. I'm not sure how well that's going to work out. But we'll see. What I was saying about these guys, Clark and Al-Rijla, how they may benefit from on the undercut is even though they're not putting on new tires, the tires will cool on their pit stop and may give them a couple of laps of a little bonus pace. And if they can get the pace down on those laps, then when Ost comes into pit, maybe they have been able to get ahead of him at that point. Also, another factor into this is how much is Darnell holding Ost up? How much do those guys feel like they are being held up? The entire top 5 has just come down pit road. McKenzie, Suidovic, Shink, Bertolucci, Harrison, Lazan, Zepka, Almeida. I think, this is the lap. No one else can really go past this lap fuel-wise. Let's see if anyone else manages to take it a whole nother circuit around. We're watching the exit of pit lane. You see McKenzie there. Bertolucci into his stall. Anthony Harrison missed his stall. That is huge. If it costs him enough time to disconnect him from the from Bertolucci and Shink, Waj and McKenzie both out at about the same time. There goes Shink, there goes Bertolucci, there goes Harrison. Look who's out really quickly. That's Lazan with a great pit stop. The Almeida and Zepka are going to be very close on exit, but I think Zepka's going to be ahead. There's Ost. Here comes Clark. The undercut may have worked. And there's Ost on the left side of your screen. Clark into the lead. He takes the lead of the Delta class, and this is going to get dicey because there's Darnell, there's Hendricks, they're 3 wide. Clark backs out of it for a moment. Hendricks to the inside of Darnell for P10. Clark trying to follow him through as they come up into turn number 4. Ost right behind Clark. Oh, and Darnell right there in the apex. Ost is trying to find a way around him, and I think he has done it. Yes, he has. And wow, what a strategy call from Spencer Clark. The undercut has worked perfectly for him. Now, Fuad Al-Rijla, we saw him, I think, miss his pit stall a little bit, come up short of it. He spent an extra 3.5 seconds on pit road, and that is about how far off those guys he is now. He's 3.8 seconds off of Mark Darnell. So still on the podium, but he may have cost himself a shot at Delta victory. There's still a whole nother round of pit stops. If he's faster than these guys, 35 minutes is a substantial amount of time. So it's all to play for still for the 119. But the field has settled down a little now that we have come out of pit road. Logan McKenzie still leads Suidovic by 2.7 seconds. It was down to 2 seconds before the pit stops. And then McKenzie spent... his trip down pit lane was half a second shorter, and that has basically made up this entire addition to the gap, as now they're up to 2.7 seconds. I do not believe that McKenzie has ever beaten Savidovic in an endurance race like this, in a straight fight, but they have battled before. I think the primary one that comes to mind is the Red Bull Ring back in, that must have been season 4. It could have been season 6 as well. It was probably season 6 because the Elantra was very powerful back then, I think, allowing McKenzie to get up to Waj, who was driving in the Audi. But they have dueled before. Waj always coming out on top. He hangs 2.7 seconds back. And that was not the best outlap for Waj either. Half a second slower. Actually, that may mostly just be the pit lane time. But we'll keep an eye on that gap. Francois Schenk is running in third. He's created a bit of a cushion for himself after the pit stop. He runs 7.4 seconds off of the leaders. Bertolucci 1.2 seconds behind. So it's nice, if you're the driver of the 18, you're happy that you don't have to deal with that right now. You can focus on a little bit of tire saving. I think one of the best things to do when you are about a second ahead of someone and you think that you probably aren't going to be able to keep them from closing back up to you, just run your race, drive it like 98%, save your tires, and by the time they do catch up to you, you might eventually have a tire delta that you can start to really leverage. The temps are coming down a bit throughout this race. As the sun gets close to setting, though I don't think it's going to set by the time the race is over. The race will end about 30 minutes before sunset. Anthony Harrison running in P5. We saw him miss his pit stall. He spent, let's see, about 3 more seconds on pit road than Francois Schenk, 2 more seconds than Bertolucci. So you can see where that time went. Oh, something's happened. Matt Zepka, we heard a slide. He got into a slide coming through turn 1, and that has allowed both Mike D'Almeida and Raymond 2 to go through. And that's going to put him into the clutches of Micah Hendricks. So Zepka, who qualified 8th, was up in 7th, now demoted back to 9th off of that mistake. So Harrison running P5, just behind him. Well, not just behind him. It's a 4-second gap right now. But John Lazan has quietly been having a very, very fine race. He's gained a spot since the start. He's kept it clean. He's had to deal with Micah Hendricks at various points in this race. After the pit stop, he's been doing quite well. It looks like out of everyone who's come down pit road thus far, he had the 4th fastest pit lane time. That's not pit stop time, but pit lane time. So that really helped him kind of get out ahead of the rest of this group of Mike D'Almeida, Raymond 2, Matt Zepka. Micah Hendricks, he started up in 6th, and then I feel like we saw what happened to him, but a couple of different issues. Oh, that's right. I mean, nothing happened to him. He just took tires. So he took a fresh set of fronts. I imagine he will not take another set at the next pit stop. It'll be interesting to see how that little story plays out, because this is essentially the first time since the tire change that a top-level driver has selected a tire change in an endurance race. And the only other endurance race we've run was Mugello, and I don't think any of the top guys took a fresh set there. So we're looking at Hendrick's lap times right now. He's currently on pace with Francois Schenck, Ian Bertolucci, Anthony Harrison, but not necessarily faster. Now, he is faster than the 4 cars in front of him, so he could get back to P6 if he stays on that pace. And then we get back to the Delta leaders. Clark and Ost have both gained 3 positions since the start of this race. Clark became just the 2nd Delta driver in history to podium last week, the overall podium. Now he's looking for another Delta victory. Christian Ost just trying to wrap up the season on a high note. Both these guys are. They both came very close to defeating Jacob Wiley in the Delta Championship, but it was not meant to be. I think Wiley, just by nature of being here, it looks like he's going to lock this up. Even if he finished dead last and Christian Ost finished in the overall win, I do not think that the standings would change. So for Ost, trying to hunt down Clark for another career Delta win would certainly be a very sweet way to end the season. A little over 28 minutes to go. McKenzie leads Suidovic now by 3.1 seconds. So that lead is extending bit by bit. It was Waj who had the slight advantage before the pit stop. Now, after the first pit stop, it's McKenzie who seems to have a very slight edge in pace. We will see if that continues. Zachary Bowman and Brian Son are going to go at it. This is into the final corner. So Son goes in a bit shallow. Can Bowman get him on the over-under onto the front straightaway? They are wheel to wheel. And they may stay that way going all the way down to turn 1. They look like they have the exact same speed. Bowman has a slight edge as we come into the braking zone. As they attack the curb, it looks like it's going to be Bowman up into P15. So the next set of pit stops, I don't think we can expect them until around 45 to 50 minutes. So these guys have a bit of time to play with, a bit of time to take care of the tires. Lazan leading this group, Mike D'Almeida, Raymond 2. And D'Almeida's actually running faster than Lazan. He has a chance to do something here, very much within attack range. Still 27 minutes and a pit stop to play with. This could be Mike D'Almeida's best career finish in quite some time. So a couple of drivers looking for a positive end to the season here at Portimao. And Lazan's still holding Almeida to about a half-second back, but Almeida's starting to get within range there. At the same time, Jacob Wiley is starting to put pressure on Brian Son, trying to follow Zachary Bowman through. And Jacob Wiley currently only about a half-second off of Brian Son. They've been going back and forth in that position for a while, all while Zachary Bowman inches further and further away from them. John Lazan having to defend from Mike D'Almeida into turn number 1. Almeida was on the inside, but Lazan managed to keep him behind. But this is showing that Lazan's actually struggling to keep Mike D'Almeida behind there. The double yellow driver is finding a lot of pace. These guys are currently a little under 6 seconds behind Anthony Harrison. And Harrison's pace is actually, it looks like Mike de Almeida might be the 5th fastest car on track right now. So we'll see if he's able to carry that all the way up to P5. It's a pretty large gap, less than half the race to go. I think he'd be happy to get around Luzon here at the very least. Luzon is the top B4D car. Jacob Wiley is down in 17th. David Bauer is out. I don't believe he actually made it to the grid. So this is him collecting as many team points as he can here in the final race of the season. 25 minutes to go. We'll check back in on Brian Son and Jacob Wiley. Wiley's still running behind him. Zachary Bowman's opened up nearly a 2-second gap over those guys. But if he wants to get onto the Delta podium, he has a long way to go because Fuad Al-Rijla is 13 seconds up the road. And on that last lap, Bowman was over half a second faster than Al-Rijla. But he would have to do that every single lap all the way to the end of the race, I think, to have a chance at catching him. Here we go into turn number 1. Mike de Almeida around the outside, and he's got Luzon, and now Raymond 2 trying to capitalize as well, looking on the outside of turn number 3 and cuts back in, trying to get a good run out of turn number 4. Let's see as they crest. So Mike de Almeida must have gotten a good run out of the last corner because he gets to the outside of John Luzon and does him into turn 1. Raymond 2 is not able to follow Almeida through, but he's still right on top of the B4D driver. And Matt Zepka is not that far off this group. He could easily become part of this fight and make it a 4-car fight for P6. I get the sense that Mike de Almeida is going to pull away from this group. It seemed like he had a lot of pace over John Luzon, but we'll see if that gap actually develops. It's currently at 0.7 of a second. And how much did either of these drivers end up using out of their tires during all of that? Jacob Wiley and Brian Son, wheel to wheel. This is for P16, and Son staying ahead of the 827, at least for the moment. But he is very close, and he's going to look to the right here. This run up the hill is not going to favor him, but he may dive right here in this long right-hander. But no, he's actually going to take a conservative run, let Brian Son run himself out wide. He gets a good exit. Not able to do anything with it as they enter the final series of hairpins, with Brian Son still just ahead. John Luzon has lost touch with Mike de Almeida. It's now about a second gap. Zepka and 2 have stacked up behind him. So this is going to get a little dicey as we come up upon the last 22 minutes of this race. We still have a pit stop we're waiting on. So a lot that is left to happen. Jacob Wiley and Brian Son going at it again. Out of the final corner. Wiley is on the right side, and he has more speed down the straightaway. He may clear Son before they hit turn 1. He's going to be on the inside line. Can Son get a little over-under action going on him? Wiley a bit wide. The Penguin RC driver pulls back ahead by the time they get to the next corner, and now they come up through turn 4. Wiley's gonna have a nice little run through here, and look at all the extra momentum he got from starting so much wider on corner entry. They're gonna come down to the hairpin. Jacob Wiley on the left side there, and Son going a bit out wide, but he may get a better exit, and once again it's going to be an issue for Wiley to finish this pass off. Wiley will have the preferred line through here, but he catches a little bit of curb, and now Son's around the outside, and Son is back into P16. And this is the battle for top 5 in the Delta class. So these guys going at it. Nothing really left to play for Jacob Wiley in the championship, so having a bit of fun going for this top 5. Francois Schenk is still... he's still not been able to drop Ian Bertolucci. And then John Lazon's in trouble. Coming down the front stretch, it's Zepka who's going to go pull out and make the move. Look at this. 2 and Zepka right on Lazon's bumper into turn number 1. And I think, oh no, a big curb strike from Zepka. And he goes off track, nudges into the wall. He just cut in too early, I think. Took too much of that curb. And he has major rear end damage. I'm not sure if all that came from hitting the wall or if maybe he made contact with Raymond 2 on his way off the track. I think that is what happened, because now Raymond 2 has a lot of front end damage. And I think John Lazon may have just had a lot of stress lifted off of him. Micah Hendricks, I think, is going to get around Raymond 2 pretty easily here. And yeah, Raymond is letting him go. Does he have wheel damage? Looks like it's driving straight still. But it was a huge crash for Zepka. It came out of nowhere. It looked like he was going to end up clearing 2 in the corner, and then it just didn't happen. Jacob Wiley ahead of Brian Son now. And he's opened up a little bit of a gap. So this battle may have cooled off. Mark Darnell has been hanging on to the back of Christian Oost. Oost running P2 in the Delta class. They're not that far off of Matthew Zepka now that Zepka has rejoined the track with the damage that he has. Darnell's in a good position to gain a couple spots here. If Zepka has damage, and if he has the pace on Oost, then they can get something done. Spencer Clark is also not too far up the road, and he's on a similar pace to these guys. Maybe a little bit faster. We're now within the pit window. So Raymond 2 is pitting to take care of this damage. And I believe, as long as he didn't use a fast repair at his first pit stop, he'll be able to get this fixed and get out there for the end of the race. And while we're looking at him, look at this. A battle down the front stretch. Christian Oost having to take a defensive line into turn number 1. Darnell trying to take it around the outside, but I don't think that's going to work. And so he'll tuck back in. And Raymond 2, actually, that was an unscheduled pit stop. Or did he stop? It looks like he stopped and filled up gas, but they did not repair the damage, so he must have already used the fast repair. So he will have to go the rest of the race with that. He comes out in P15. I think he could probably still easily net a top 10 as long as he keeps it on track. But depending on how much that damage is actually slowing him down, because it looks fairly severe. I think when Zepka struck the curb, it shunted him back into 2's front right, and that was how he got turned around. Francois Schenk and Ian Bertolucci driving as the sun begins to set here at Portimao. Sunset about 45 minutes away. But the end of this race and the end of season 11 is only about 17 minutes away. So the sun's setting not only on the track, but on the season as a whole. And currently, our overall championship leader is trying to finish off the season with a win and with a career best 6 wins in a single season. Logan McKenzie, 3.3 seconds up on Suidovic right now. That gap has continued to grow since the first pit stop. He's put about 0.7 of a second on him since they came out of the pits. And this is a nice cushion with only 17 minutes remaining. That's a pretty sizable gap for Waj to overcome. The entire top 3 of the Delta class just jumped down pit lane. So let's take a look at them. You see Clark and Oost both make it to their stalls okay. Here comes Al Rijla. And he pulls into his stall as a couple of cars go on by. And Spencer Clark comes out of his. Oost is out as well. And let's see how close they are when they come off a pit lane for the final Delta victory of the season. These two have been very close in pace and to each other all throughout definitely the second half of this season, it's felt like. Al Ridgely out of his stall, okay. Clark's going to emerge from the pits with a 3.1 second lead, maybe a 3-second lead over Ost. So that's a nice, comfortable gap for the last 15 minutes of the season. Micah Hendricks making moves through the right-hander. He has done it on John Lazan. Can Lazan come back at him? Up into the hairpin. Look at this. He's got to run. He sticks a nose in, and Hendricks goes out wide. There's no grip out there, and Lazan has gone back through. So into the final hairpin. They've swapped positions twice now. I see Jess Rakowski has come down pit road. So she's done her last stop of the day. So a couple of early takers on pit road. Look at this. Both Lazan and Hendricks pitting, and Hendricks right on his back bumper as they come down pit road. That was a cool little visual of that. Matt Zepka does follow them. So 15 minutes to go. About half the field, a little under half the field has pitted now. This is going to be essential. Getting into their pit stalls correctly. Lazan and Hendricks, both without any error. Zachary Bowman is also going to come down pit road. Lap 24. Oh, Lazan out of his stall. And he well and beats Hendricks off pit lane. He'll have a decent little cushion as they exit. And on board with Hendricks, you see how big that gap suddenly is. It's going to be about 2 seconds. His pit stop was 1 second longer than Lazan's. So a lot of that was the pit stop. Zachary Bowman exiting now. So we'll see where he comes out in relation to Fuai Al-Rijla in that battle for the final podium position. And there goes Al-Rijla now. He had a 13-second gap earlier. But now the Bowman's out of the pits. It looks like it's down to a 6.2 second gap. Leader Logan McKenzie down pit road. Suvidovic has followed him. But will we see Schink and Bertolucci? Yes, we will. They both dart down as well. So it looks like nobody else is going to lead a lap here. So far, McKenzie has led every single lap of this race. And he holds the fastest lap of the race. So he is also going for a grand slam here if he holds on to this the rest of the way. Anthony Harrison and Mike D'Almeida also on pit road. Schink hits his pit stall. Bertolucci hits his. Suvidovic is out. Harrison is in. Almeida is in. Schink is pulling away right as Bertolucci's crew lets him out. And they are still right on top of each other. And on pit exit, this is close. Just over 12 minutes to go. Everyone else coming down. Darnell, too, Wally, all of them are on and off pit lane. Oh, Raymond 2's coming down again. Maybe he didn't pit last time because he had already made a pit stop, so it showed a pit time. That's why. So he was serving a penalty, most likely for hitting the incident limit. So this is his fuel stop. And he comes out. Still didn't have the fast repair, though. So he's carrying that damage, and he is right alongside Jacob Wiley. So on pit exit, they are actually side by side. They're going to have to give each other the space. On the run down to turn one, Jacob Wiley tucking in behind, flashing his headlights. Hey, hello. But 2 stays ahead. Schink is holding on to this final podium of the season just ahead of Ian Bertolucci, but it is not by much. 0.7 of a second separates these guys. 11 minutes to go in this race. Not very many laps. Maybe 5 more laps in the season, maybe 6. Logan McKenzie has come off pit road, and after this first out lap, His lead is at nearly 5 seconds. So this looks like a done deal for McKenzie. It is his race to lose. He'd have to make a pretty substantial error. Waj is gonna have to catch him at a clip of probably 1 second a lap at this point to win the race. And in the Delta class, Spencer Clark, he has expertly kept Christian Ost behind. The gap has never been that large, never been incredibly comfortable, and Ost has, in fact, closed it down a little bit since the pit stop. It's under 3 seconds, but Clark's done everything right, and he only has 10 minutes to go. I think he is very much in position to hold on here. He does have Matt Zepka to worry about, the alpha driver behind him. Zepka on a recovery drive after, did he get that? He did get his rear wing fixed. So Zepka at least is once again at full strength in that Honda. And Micah Hendricks has caught back up to John Lazan and has had to let him by. I wonder what happened there, if we saw him serving a slowdown or if he had just gone wide. But this battle continues on. Hendricks has come very close to getting past Lazan multiple times, but just hasn't been able to finish the job. And that's sort of been the story today, is these drivers are struggling to finish passes at this circuit. The way it twists and doubles back on itself, it's quite a challenge just to get it done. They crest the hill with Lazan still up ahead of Hendricks. This is the battle for 7th, and actually Mike DeAlmeida is 6 seconds ahead of these guys now. I mean, he's pulled out some incredible pace today, and not just Mike DeAlmeida, but Anthony Harrison. Anthony Harrison has had a couple of really good qualifying performances recently, and now he's translating it into race pace. Look at this, right on the back bumper of Lazan as they come up to the final hairpin. 2 corners to go on this lap. Nothing working there, but something working for Matt Zepka, who did get around Spencer Clark in that first hairpin. Clark facilitates that pass while losing basically no time to Christian Ost behind, so that's a big help to him. Lazan trying to break the toe from Hendricks. Down the front straightaway with just a few laps to go in the final race of the season. Hendricks to the inside, Lazan to the outside. Hendricks is through. Can Lazan come back with an over-under? He might. He gets the nose back in there. Coming down to turn 3. Hard to do this around the outside, but if Hendricks can keep a nose in, he can disrupt Lazan up to turn 4. He doesn't manage it, though, so Lazan will get the run. And now down to the hairpin. I don't think Hendricks is going to be close enough. And he will not be, so he'll have to attack Lazan another day. But every single lap, those guys go at it, and every single lap, it seems like Lazan stays ahead. Jacob Wiley is still working on the back of Raymond, too, carrying that damage from the Zepka incident. Wiley trying to make this a top 15 overall for him. Currently sitting P5 in the Delta class, a current championship leader. And he's also trying to drive off into the sunset with his first Delta title. He would become the third breakfast for dinner driver to win the Delta title. The previous 2 being Justin Rhodes in Season 6 and Kurt Smith in Season 7. So he would be joining a couple of teammates, current and former. And he would be the 6th different Delta champion since the championship's inception. It's gone 7 seasons, so it'd be 6 different winners. And John Lazan is on pit lane. He may have hit the incident limit while trying to defend against Micah Hendricks, and the battle has come to a close. Zepka and Clark go through. Ost goes through. He's going to slip all the way, maybe behind Zachary Bowman here. And he is serving a penalty. He's not pitting. And that's just devastating for the breakfast for dinner driver trying to finish the season on a high note. Rizla goes by, and here comes Bowman. It will be close on exit. He might be able to battle that position back at least, but he emerges P14. So we've seen a few penalties handed out today for off-track violations, and a lot of empty tarmac to go out onto. Not very self-policing this track. So not a huge surprise to see drivers struggling with that over a 60-minute race. The 13 incident limit is tight, especially when you get into incidents. So Lazan, I don't think we saw him involved in any major incident. It makes sense that Raymond 2 hit the incident limit, because he probably picked up a 4X from the Zepka contact. And but Lazan, he may have just accrued his through off-tracks over the course of the event. Now, Matt Zepka has not been able to fully shake Spencer Clark. Not to say that Clark is close enough to really do anything to Zepka for the end of this race, but only hanging out a half second behind, so it is possible. And Raymond 2 is also not fully dropped off of Jacob Wiley. And look at that. This track has some absolutely beautiful sights to it, especially as the sun sets. Season 11 has been a pretty incredible season. It carried on the strengths of season 9 and 10. Just the participation was amazing. 5 unique winners overall this season. And it also continues the series streak of having at least 20 or more cars grid in every single race for the last, this would be the 56th race in that streak. It's been going for over 3 seasons now. So it's great to see the health of the TCR class these days. And these endurance races, especially when we roll around to next season and we get back to 30 to 40 car grids on really popular tracks, we're going to see some real tire strategy play out. We might even see a slightly longer special challenge where we'll really see tire strategy play out. But some interesting stuff coming in the pipeline. A summer break going from now till August 19th. And then Season 12 will kick off again. And happy to say that it will be kicking off at a very familiar location. Virginia International Raceway. It has hosted 3 of the last 4 series openers. It is honestly a fantastic track for season openers, so I'm very happy to see it back on the schedule. The rest of the schedule getting announced shortly after this race goes live, this broadcast. So excited to see what people's reactions are to the full schedule, the full lineup. Just under 3 minutes to go in Season 11, however, though. And Logan McKenzie is in the middle part of the track now. I think that he will be getting the white flag next time by. For McKenzie, it's been, well, really, when you look at the statistics, it's his best career season. Most wins in a single season. Previous best was 5. Now he's up to 6. Most poles in a single season. Previous best was 4. He had 6. A huge bundle of podiums. He actually podiumed in all but one of his 15 starts. Missed the 2 races at his home, Road Atlanta. But other than that, it's been smooth sailing. A tight battle with Michael Polasek through most of the first 2/3 of the season. But Polasek, a couple of drops, not able to make a few key races, and the race was already very close. They were separated by less than 20 points, with McKenzie leading when Polasek had to miss the last 2 races of the season. So as McKenzie takes the white flag, he has held on to the championship lead since Sandown. So it's been 3 rounds, and he led the championship for a bit at the start of the season too, but it wasn't always the smoothest ride. But he's only one lap away from securing his 6th career Alpha Touring Challenge title. He has won in seasons 1, 3, 4, 6, and then 9. And now he continues trading with Micah Hendricks. Micah Hendricks brought home the title in season 8. McKenzie won season 9, and then McKenzie came home in a very close second to Hendricks last season. But then now it's McKenzie back on top this season. And Christian Ost, a last-minute surprise. Ost coming down pit road at the white flag. So it looks like Zachary Bowman may actually end up on the Delta podium. What a surprise that is. And Ost may have also just ran afoul of that incident limit right at the very end of the race. And Bowman is promoted onto the podium, and hasn't he had a good run of races since joining the series? It's just 2 corners to go for the Yellow Flag Motorsport driver, Logan McKenzie. It will be win number 6. It has been pole number 6, and it will be title number 6. For the 04, it is victory at Portimao and victory in season 11. This is your Alpha Touring champion. Logan McKenzie wins. Switovich comes home P2, a stellar performance from him in the final race of the season, and Francois Schink just barely holding off Ian Bertolucci at the very end. 2 tenths separate them, but Schink will come home P3 on the podium and P2 in the championship. Bertolucci slots in P4 behind him. Harrison finishes P5. Mike D'Almeida P6. Micah Hendricks will roll around in P7. Zepka P8. And Spencer Clark is going to bring home another victory for him. It's back-to-back Delta wins. After the podium, the overall podium at New Hampshire, it's Clark on top at the final race at Portimao in the Delta class. And what a victory it is for him. Fouad Al-Rijli is going to come home P2. And Zachary Bowman is right behind him. How did I not realize that? They're on top of each other. But it looks like it'll be Al-Rijli P2 and Bowman closing out the season with a podium. But for Jacob Wiley, it's Delta Championship number 3 for his team, but it's number 1 for him. He finishes P4 today, but it's P1 in the Delta Championship for Jacob Wiley in season 11. Take a bow. What a drive. All season long, he was hounded by Christian Ost, by Spencer Clark, by Brian Saab. They all took turns. Fouad Al-Rijli, they were all at some point closest to him in the standings, but Wiley held on to the lead for pretty much the entire season and closed it out when it mattered. And so concludes our final race of the season here at Portimao. All the drivers celebrating, happy. You see John Lazan, he's actually congratulating his teammate there on his Delta title. He knows he's won it. Christian Ost coming by, maybe saying a little congratulations out the window. Ost will surely be a favorite to win the Delta title next season, along with Spencer Clark. And Logan McKenzie comes around to the front stretch, having won his 6th title in 11 attempts. He's got to be pretty chuffed about that. So concludes another fantastic season of racing here at the Alpha Touring Challenge. It's always a privilege to run this series and do these broadcasts and drive in this series. It'd be nothing without everyone who takes part in it. So one last big shout out to everyone who shows up to these things. A huge shout out to Logan McKenzie and Jacob Wiley, your champions for this season. And a shout out to the team champions as well. The final team standings. No surprise, Yellow Flag Motorsport came out on top. And then in the Delta Team Championship, it is Complex Penguin Racing. So Christian Ost not able to bring home the Delta Drivers Championship, but he does bring home the Delta Team Championship. So a big win for that team, as Mackenzie is congratulated by Ian Bertolucci there. As we watch these guys wrap up their celebrations, we will bring you the final results from this race and the final championship results from season 11. And then afterward, a sneak peek at season 12 along with the season 12 schedule. It has probably dropped already on the Discord, so go check that out now. We'll see you then, but until then, have a good summer. Thanks for watching, thanks for racing, and good night.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn. It's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah. And I'm feeling good.